In the next edition of It's About Money, my guest will be Maria Lauriello-Klein. She is the founder and owner of JGK Galleries. Stay tuned for our program. Hello and welcome to another edition of It's About Money. I'm Nannette Nocon and thank you for joining us. I'm delighted to have our guest today from JGK Galleries in the Park Avenue area in Rochester, New York. She's Maria Lauriello-Klein. Maria, thank you very much for being a guest at my show.
Thank you for having me.
And so tell me about JGK.
Well, JGK Galleries, we opened up about 1 year and 7 months ago. We have, our collection is predominantly fine, modern, and contemporary art. We have art that's modern, fine, modern, and contemporary art. We show basically national and international artists, and just recently we've added local artists to the gallery.
Great, very good. Now, what makes it unique from other galleries? I mean, for me, when I spot it, it's like in a neighborhood, and so I spotted and I said, oh, let me pull into this gallery and see what it's about.
It is. It's a little bit off the beaten path of the art district, but it's unique in the sense that we do have national and international artists, wonderful pedigrees, and they're shown throughout the country. We also look for artists that expand their medium, and we focus also on West Coast artists at the gallery, and we try to follow those trends that emerge from the West Coast. For example, we have an artist, Murray Kruger, who's a digital artist, and he's shown in multiple West Coast galleries. So we look for those types of artists.
I see. So just kind of watch the trend that's coming from the West Coast,
Right.
and then exhibit their work.
Exactly.
In the community. So what is the climate for art collecting in the community? Or is your market really broader than Rochester, New York?
It is, but talking about Rochester, it's a tough community. Definitely people enjoy the arts and looking at the arts. As far as acquisitions, I think we lag a little bit behind other comparable sized cities. But, you know, having said, and the other thing too is the Rochester people like to shop outside of the city is what I found. And it's a little disappointing giving the local talent here. Having said that, I'm confident that things are changing. There's been a couple of new galleries that have opened up over the past couple of years, doing interesting exhibits and events. So I think that sparked interest in people to visit the galleries, and you know, it bodes well for the future and hopefully the present.
Great. So yeah, you know, it's kind of amazing. I spoke with an artist who exhibited work outside of Rochester, and there was a person who bought the art who was from Rochester but bought it from outside. Oh, I didn't know that you're an excellent artist and that I would like your work, you know. So how do you market the artists and the work that you exhibit at the gallery?
Predominantly social media.
Okay.
Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter. We do have a website, our own in-house mailing list. We do individual letters. We don't do a lot of formal advertising. I found, like you mentioned before, that Rochester is pretty much word of mouth.
Sure.
So I think that is our biggest advertiser.
And you've also done some unique things, like when you have an exhibit, you've had some receptions for children's books and things like that, which is unique.
We do. The first Fridays, I take that opportunity to showcase local artists and things that are taking place in the community. I like education, so I try to incorporate that as much as I can.
Yeah, that's nice. And I found that out from, I think, Facebook, that you were doing that. Anyway, but, you know, for people who are watching that don't know about it, the first Friday is when art galleries are open and museums are open in town, and that you could visit them late on Friday evening, right?
Exactly.
Which I guess, I know it's a wonderful tradition. Now, how did you choose your location? Like you said, it's off the beaten path, if you will, but it's a nice location, a beautiful building.
We looked at a number of properties, and I fell in love with this because it had architectural potential. We occupy the bottom floor, and we were able to renovate. It looks nothing like it looked when we first looked at it. So we did a major renovation, and I think I've achieved that true Tribeca gallery feeling in the space. It has exposed brick. We were able to expose the windows and put wood floors in.
Yes.
So I think architecturally, that's what I wanted.
And funny you said that, because when I first entered the gallery, it gave me that Tribeca feel.
Oh, good.
So, yeah, so that's good. They achieved it. At least from my perspective, and what I've seen in Tribeca, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
So walk me through the process. You know, how do you find artists, whose work you exhibit? You said, you know, it's national, international, but how do you find them? What is the process of that? So say there's an artist that, well, first, how do you choose the artist, and what process do you go through?
When we opened up the gallery, we invited artists that we had been following through the past probably 12, 15 years to join us. And those artists happen to be national and international artists. For the current artists, they do go through a submission process, and then we look at their portfolio, we look at their images, their pedigree, their resume, and we try to see if their art kind of fits our genre and the feel that we're trying to have in the gallery.
I see.
And that's how we choose them.
I see. And then so let's say you make a selection of the artist. How does it work? Are these works exhibited, but you don't you don't pay for the art when they're exhibited? How does that economics?
Well, there's different ways of doing business, and typically what we do is we do have inventory and we do have consignment.
I see. Okay.
And then that also, as far as the commission level, is all based on the artist and the medium.
I see. Okay.
And the other thing too is that when we work with artists, we do demand exclusivity for about a 200-mile radius.
I see.
Which is similar to other galleries.
Sure. I mean, that's kind of, that's good. Otherwise, it kind of removes the cachet, if you will, of exhibiting at your place. So, and how do you find patrons? You should mention that you use social media quite a bit, word of mouth, and then you have some receptions. But are there do you participate in community programs? How do you?
Prior to opening the gallery, I've been very involved in the community through volunteer work. And so it was basically inviting those people that I've met through the years, obviously through acquaintances and social media. That is a big one. That drives a lot of the traffic, believe it or not, word of mouth and social media. So those are the ways predominantly that
okay. So just kind of give people a glimpse of what art is being exhibited.
Right.
If you like that kind of art, and come and see it.
Exactly.
So, what does a gallery, like, you know, you've got people who tend to just look maybe, and then how do you differentiate? How do you know that someone is a collector? I mean, that they're a good potential for someone who might be buying artwork.
There are several types of customers, and the way that I know that a person is a true collector is when they come in, they look at the piece, there's an instant connection to the piece, and they will purchase it.
I see.
As opposed to a person that might come in, look at the art, enjoy the piece, they do have a connection, but will leave.
I see.
They might come back again. I've had people come back 2 and 3 times before they've made the purchase.
I see.
So I think a true collector knows what they like, and they buy it.
One of my friends was in a conference one time, and he saw this art. It was a pencil sketch of a little girl. And so at break time during his conference, he would go and look at the art. So he would do this for 4 days. On the 5th day, he went to the gallery, and the art was gone. He said, it broke my heart. Well, as it turned out, his wife bought it for him. But he was so disappointed. He thought, oh, gee, I should have bought the art.
Exactly.
Because he wanted to buy it, but it wasn't convenient for the week that he was there, and he was finally making the decision. It was gone. Thank goodness. Yeah, you're right. Fortunate that his wife bought it for him.
Exactly.
But yeah, it could be gone, and then what do you do next? So, so in terms of getting started in a gallery, what prompted you to do it? I mean, you said you've been following artists for the last 15 years. So help me with that kind of progression of, initial thought to actually opening your door.
You know, it's interesting. Growing up, we had no art in our home. And when I got to college, I discovered art. I took many, many art classes and visited Soho and the museums, and that kind of started my passion for art and collecting art. I never really pursued anything as an artist. So it's the passion, and when I met my husband, he had the same passion. So we kind of grew that together. And we always talked about opening a gallery and displaying the art that we like to the community that we're in. And probably 15 years later, we decided to open doors to the gallery. Probably not the ideal time in the economic market, but just the same, you know, we decided to go for it.
Yeah, and then sometimes you just never know the most difficult. If you survive the challenging times in economic condition, then there's a lot of upside. You know what I mean? So that's great. What would you call a successful show? Like, so say there's an exhibit, and what is successful in opening?
Well, there's two parts. First is having an artistic merit, an art show that, you know, is artistically merited. Now, when we decide which artist to showcase, we sit down with them, we pick a date, we kind of talk about the feel that we want in the show and the pieces that we want to feature. The frightening thing is that they don't start working on their pieces until after we've set that date.
Oh my.
So although we have a sense of what it's going to look like, we really won't know until we get that shipment 6 to 8 weeks before.
Oh, I see.
Now, what's happening, we've had shows and the artwork arrive 1 to 2 weeks before the show. So if all that comes together, that is part of the success.
I see.
And the second part is hopefully we'd like to sell half of the show.
I see. Okay.
So those are the two things that makes it successful.
And so from the time you select the artist, what's the typical time frame before the exhibit opens? Is it 6 months, 3 months? No, how long is that?
It's about 6 months.
6 months. Okay, all right. So it gives them some time to work on it.
It does, and well, you would think it gives them some time. And working with artists, they're wonderful, but when it comes to calendar integrity and time management,
Can be challenging.
it's very challenging.
They're artists after all, huh?
Exactly.
That's interesting. So, what happens with the works that are not sold? So you said like if you sell half of the inventory, that's great. But what happens with the artwork after?
We typically keep the artwork for an additional 6 to 8 weeks after the exhibit closes.
I see.
And then the artwork gets distributed to other galleries. But we do still keep 3 to 4 pieces of that exhibit for an additional 6 to 8 months or until it's sold.
I see. Okay. And so when you talk about the artists, after you talk with them, they create the art, and you get about 6, maybe 2 weeks, hopefully 6 weeks ahead of schedule. So basically, they make the art specifically for the show. Okay, so it has to be fresh art, if you will. Okay.
There will be 1 to 2 pieces that is existing, but for the most part, it's brand new art.
I see. Oh, okay. Very nice. That's great. So they basically work for that particular show.
Right. It's pretty much first time seen at JGK galleries.
I see. I didn't know that. So that's fantastic to know. So, well, thank you. We'll take a quick break.
Okay.
We'll be right back. I'm talking with Maria Lauriello-Klein.
Time was, kids did what came naturally, spending free time running through the grass, exploring streams. But times have changed. Today's indoor kids spend more than 7 hours in front of electronic media. That's why National Wildlife Federation created the Be Out There movement. Outdoor play improves kids' health, body, mind, and spirit. It helps them stay fit, enhances creativity, and could even make them better students. There's a reason they call it the Great Outdoors. Learn more at beoutthere.org.
And we're back. I'm Nannette Nocon. It's about money, and my guest is Maria Lauriello-Klein, and she owns, founder and owner of JGK Galleries in Rochester, New York. Happy to have you here.
Thank you.
So let's talk about. We talked about the artworks. What happens? How do artists work with galleries? Like you said, you contact them, but what is the typical arrangement of that? How does it all work? I mean, do they seek out? Do artists seek out galleries, or is it galleries seeking out artists?
It's both, actually. On our website, we do have a section for submissions. So we do get a lot of submissions from the website. And then also artists that I'm interested in, that I've seen during my travels, or that another artist might suggest, are the ways that we get our artists. And then they obviously submit their portfolio and go through the process.
And do they typically come to opening? Are they available for some part of time where the collectors or patrons might get to know them a little bit?
Absolutely. One of the requirements of showing at JGK galleries, if they have an exhibit and there's a preview, they must attend.
I see. Is that typical of most galleries?
It is not.
Oh, it is not. Okay, yeah. It gives a different dimension. You know, when I know the artist, it's just I tend to enjoy the art in a different way because there's a connection to it. You kind of wonder, you know, when they were painting it or drawing it or making the art form, you know, what they were thinking and stuff like that.
Right, and that's when we have our preview parties, we do mention that quite a bit, that the artist is in town. Usually our artists are from the West Coast, so it's quite a trip, and logistically there's a lot that goes into that planning. But I do find, like you said, that collectors really do enjoy that personal connection with the artist.
Sure. Now, you did something that was unique. Was it with writers and books that you did?
Yes.
Yeah, I thought that was. Tell us about that.
That was probably one of my favorite exhibits. We had Anita Lewis, who's an abstract artist, but, you know, talking about kind of stretching that medium to a different level, she decided to do abstract paintings of dancers. So when we met her, she had one, and oh, I'm sorry, I'm talking about the wrong artist.
Yes.
That was a collaboration with Rochester City Ballet, but with the Writers and Books, we had our artist, and she is a sculptor. And what I thought would be nice is to collaborate with somebody in the community. So I spoke with Alexa at Writers and Books, and we came up with poetry. Writing poetry based on the piece. So we had 16 pieces, and we had 2 artists per piece write specifically for that sculpture. And then when we had the preview, the artist flew in, and the poets read their pieces while she was there, and all the other attendees were there. And it was very interesting to see how people view a similar piece of art very differently.
Sure.
That was a wonderful event, very well attended, and the poets were wonderful. It was just very interesting and different, and I really try to make the exhibits different, give people a different experience when viewing art.
It's nice to see the anthology of, you know, all the different works.
And then we did collaborate and put a book together, which is nice. So it has the painting and the poet's work.
Yeah, that's very creative. I thought that was well done. So that's great. So with the internet, how do you find, what is the role of the internet in your business and social media?
It plays a very big part. In doing some research, this is the way the art market is going. We find that people would like information and images immediately. They want to be able to go on and find the artist and find their images. So we work very hard in keeping our website updated and being part of the social media, which is forever changing, so it's hard to keep up. But we are on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter, as well as YouTube. Trying.
And then how do people buy like without physically seeing the art? Do you do a lot of internet sales, or is it mostly?
We don't, and it's interesting you bring that up because I've had a few people ask for that. That's something we're looking into, but with other galleries, yes, people do buy art without looking at it.
Yeah, right. Because you just like the image, and it's nice to have the internet, you could see it. And I've actually met artists where they may have their piece exhibited at a gallery already, so then they, from their website or, you know, from them telling that they could say, you know, refer to this gallery because that piece is being exhibited or sold, or they own that piece.
Right.
So I thought that's a nice way to kind of connect from the artist's website to
exactly. You know, as a collector myself, I like to physically see the piece, but I do understand there's a whole different market out there
Sure, sure.
that would like to go online and just buy it.
Yeah, because sometimes the color scheme is a little bit different than what you
Exactly.
would say, because you know it's not exactly true colors, and it might not have that feeling whether it's gritty or not. You know what I mean? There's just a
Right.
lot of different feeling that you get when you look at the gallery.
Exactly.
So, how do you get media attention? I mean, do you get the local press to come and view the exhibit? Do they critique the exhibit?
I've been working very hard for the past year and a half to get to know people in the media. I've had some success, some smaller pieces in the Rochester Women's Magazine, a small piece in the DNC, and the Rochester Business Journal. But recently I was fortunate enough to get a nice-sized piece in the Rochester Magazine. So they looked at the exhibit and the images and talked about, actually the current exhibit is local artists.
Oh, nice.
So that's been very well received.
Sure, sure. Yeah, I think there's a lot. I'm happy that there's many people who support local artists, and it kind of gives a different interest. But it's nice to also bring in art from
Right.
other parts of the country, other parts of the world. So, did you ever meet an artist where you were surprised, or were there any surprises when you either meet the artist, see the work? I mean, something that surprises you. Has that ever happened?
Yes. I'm thinking of one artist in particular who works in glass. His work is absolutely phenomenal. He does the glass cast cameras, reproductions of Kodak cameras, and then they're set on antique tripods. Very beautiful work. In meeting him, I was quite surprised because over the phone he seemed very easy to work with, but in person it was completely different.
Oh, okay.
So I am quite surprised by the personalities. Great work, wonderful guy, very difficult to work with.
I find that many artists may be hard to work. And then when they're, oh, I shouldn't really say that, because there are many people that I know who are artists are just fantastic. But there are some that are just kind of like, I guess, everyday people, right?
Exactly. You know, they lack the business sense, if you will, and that aspect of the business. So it's very difficult because they're always thinking artistically, which is wonderful. But there are other aspects to being in a gallery and showing.
No, in performing arts, artists usually have an agent. Is that the case for visual art and physical art? They do. Okay.
I think as artists become quite popular, they have an agent, and the agent handles all aspects of their business.
I see. But initially, they kind of market their own work and hope that the galleries pick up. I see.
Exactly.
I see. And do you collaborate with, how do you collaborate with local non-for-profit galleries like Rochester Contemporary? I see you there from time to time, but do you do any work with them, or how do you?
When I first opened up, I invited Blue to come over, and we had a wonderful discussion. And I visit, obviously, the gallery and support Rocco quite a bit. And I was hoping we would be able to do some type of collaboration, but we haven't yet, and I'm hoping that will happen sometime soon.
Sure, an opportunity there.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Yeah, because it's a contemporary gallery, and so how as you look back, what would you have done differently? You know, you've got your physical space, you've got the artists. Is there anything that you would change as you look back?
I think I probably would have focused a little bit more on local artists when I first opened up. The vision was national and international, and I think if I focused a little bit more on that in the first 6 months, it probably would have been a lot more easier to get people to visit the gallery. Yeah.
No, but then moving forward, there's always the opportunity. So it's nice that you're established, remove the kinks, if you will, and then now get the local artists. So, because how do people find you? I mean, they find you because of social media. Because, like you said, there's no it's not in the main
It
street.
isn't.
Yeah.
It isn't, and it's usually through social media or word of mouth.
I see. Okay.
And then there's a great walking community in the Park Avenue. So during the warmer months, people just walk in.
Oh, nice. Okay.
You know, I live in the neighborhood, or I was just walking by, type of thing.
I see. And how do you choose like off hours where the gallery is open? How does that?
You know, that's been a struggle. Having a young son at home and a family, I've tried to keep my hours during school time hours, which really doesn't work because people like to come in at all different hours. So I constantly struggle with that, expanding the hours. We're open now Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturdays from 11 to 3. We did experiment with having evening hours, but that didn't really work out, so I did away with that. So that's constantly changing based on feedback.
Sure. And then First Friday allows you to do that evening where there might be.
But then also we have by appointment.
I see. Okay, that's great. You're right, and that gives a lot of flexibility.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's great. So this is a business that you and your husband actually own and manage. Right? That's cool. How does it work with 24/7? That's a different dynamic of making.
It is. You know, he's the silent one. He's the silent partner, which I like. He basically handles the finances. He has recently gotten his law degree, so he handles all the legal aspects of it and leaves the day-to-day management to me. And I pretty much pick my own artists, research the artist, and the artistic end is really my piece.
I see. Oh, so that's good. So he does the business end for the financials, and then you do
Right.
the artistic and day-to-day management.
And you know what? It's been a wonderful experience. And, you know, the other thing I forgot to mention is another way that we pick artists is basically if I won't hang the artwork in my home, I will not show it, even if it's marketable.
Sure.
It's just the way I look at artists.
Yeah, it's funny as people say, how do you choose art? I'm like, well, if it makes me happy, I get the art. It's not, you know, in no particular style. I mean, so of course we tend to like certain things, but you know, it's more like makes me happy. I look at it, and it's, you know, it's good for the soul.
Exactly.
Yeah, very nice. So, what do you see the future of your business to be?
Well, you know, I hope that it's the place where Rochester comes to buy their art, as well as visitors to the city to come in and visit and purchase art. The other thing, too, is I hope that we offer an educational piece. When people come in, I work very hard in explaining the art and the process. So I hope to continue to offer that education piece to the community as well.
Oh, that's great. That's so they understand and have more depth with that goes with the artwork.
And I want the gallery to have a feeling that anyone could come in and look at art. It doesn't matter of status or wealth. We want people to come in to feel comfortable. I'm happy to talk about it, you know, with the customers. So just a very relaxed place to go and visit art.
Yeah, that's great. That's great, and I hope that you continue with other collaborations with other groups in town, and people come to the work see the work at the gallery.
Yeah.
That's great. It's nice to see businesses, you know, sprout in Rochester, and hope that they thrive. You know, everybody supports them.
And I do. I believe in collaboration. Like I stated earlier, we did a collaboration with the Rochester City Ballet, and you know, the George Eastman House, but that kind of happened during a very difficult time. So that exhibit didn't take place. But it's all about connections and collaborating in the community. That's what I feel.
Yeah, that's very important. Yeah. Well, best wishes to you. I hope that, you know, your gallery continues to flourish, and that you show the works of some wonderful contemporary artists, and I hope to visit your gallery sometime in the near future.
Oh, good. I look forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you. And my guest is Maria Lauriello-Klein, and she's the founder and owner of JGK Galleries in Rochester, New York. Until next time, I'm Nannette Nocon, and it's about money.
Thanks for tuning in to today's show. If you have any questions for It's About Money, please email Nannette at nnocon@aol.com. This program was produced through Penfield Community Television in Penfield, New York.